Justin Timberlake's much-anticipated appearance on The Kelly Clarkson Show had been billed as a warm, nostalgic conversation about his upcoming album, a few surprise performances, and some lighthearted banter about his decades in the spotlight. But from the moment he stepped onto the stage, something in the air felt off. The audience cheered loudly, and Kelly greeted him with her trademark warmth. But Justin's expression carried a tension that only grew as their conversation began. At first, things moved along smoothly. They joked about *and SYNC's reunion. Teases. Kelly asked about his time balancing music and acting, and Justin gave quick, polished answers. However, when the topic shifted to his past controversies and some recent headlines about his personal life, his demeanor noticeably changed. Kelly, perhaps trying to balance journalistic curiosity with friendly charm, pushed with a couple of probing follow-up questions that caught Justin off guard. He shifted in his seat, leaning back with a tight smile that didn't quite reach his eyes, and began giving clipped responses. The audience, sensing the tension, quieted. Justin then tried steering the conversation toward his new single, but Kelly circled back to one of the more sensitive questions, seemingly unaware she had already grazed a nerve. That was when Justin's tone shifted entirely, still calm, but sharper, with a hint of frustration as he told her, "I'm here to talk about my music, not rehash old stories." Kelly, visibly taken aback, tried to lighten the moment with humor, but it didn't land. The air in the studio turned thick, the laughter awkward and sparse. What happened next was the kind of unscripted moment that daytime television producers dread and viewers can't look away from. As Kelly attempted to move the discussion forward, Justin interrupted her, setting his microphone down on the side table with deliberate care. The move alone sent ripples through the audience, but when he stood up, straightening his jacket, and offering a terse, "I think we're done here," the room went completely silent. Kelly, caught between shock and her role as a host, tried to coax him back, saying, "Justin, wait, let's just talk this out." But he shook his head, flashing a quick but clearly forced smile to the crowd before walking toward the backstage. Exit. The cameras caught every step, from the crew's stunned faces to Kelly's frozen posture in her chair, as producers scrambled to cut to an impromptu commercial break. The studio audience erupted into murmurs, some gasping audibly, while others whispered to their seatmates, already guessing how quickly clips of this would flood social media. Backstage, Justin's team reportedly huddled with him, trying to smooth things over and decide whether he should return for a calmer segment, but his mind was made up. By the time the show resumed, Kelly was back on screen alone, visibly composed but with a subtle tension in her voice as she explained they were moving on with the rest of the program. Within hours, the incident became a trending topic, dominating entertainment news feeds and sparking fierce debate online. Some viewers sided with Justin, arguing that Kelly had pushed too far into personal territory when he had clearly come to promote his work, while others defended Kelly, claiming that public figures should expect hard questions in interviews. Clips of the walk-off, often replayed in slow motion with dramatic captions, racked up millions of views, with body language experts breaking down every subtle glance and hand movement from both of them. Insiders from the show later leaked that producers had warned Kelly before the taping to tread lightly on certain subjects, but she had felt it necessary to address them, believing that ignoring the elephant in the room would come across as disingenuous. Meanwhile, Justin's camp released a brief statement the next day, thanking Kelly for having him but reaffirming that he wanted to focus on the music and the fans. Kelly, for her part, addressed the situation in a later episode without naming Justin directly, saying she respected all her guests but also believed in asking the questions audiences wanted answered. Despite the fallout, the incident only fueled interest in Justin's new album, and when his single dropped a week later, it shot to the top of the charts. Whether the clash was an unplanned disaster or a savvy publicity move, one thing was certain: the image of Justin Timberlake calmly but decisively walking off Kelly Clarkson's stage would linger in pop culture memory for years to come, behind. The scenes, accounts from crew members, painted an even more vivid picture of just how quickly the mood in the studio had shifted from excitement to tension. Moments before Justin's exit, The production team in the control room had been queuing up a lighthearted game segment, a playful Guess That Song challenge they had prepared as a surprise. Producers had their fingers hovering over the soundboard, ready to roll upbeat music and flash colorful graphics across the screen. But the second Justin set his microphone down, the room in the control booth went dead quiet, with the director urgently signaling to switch camera angles to avoid showing Kelly's initial shock too closely. One staffer later recalled hearing someone mutter, "We've lost him," as the camera cut away to a wide shot of the audience. On the floor, a stage manager had stepped forward, hoping to intercept Justin before he reached the wings, but his pace was steady and determined, ignoring all attempts to engage. A few audience members even tried calling out his name, their voices awkwardly echoing in the hushed space. Kelly, ever the professional, maintained her posture in the chair, but those close enough could see her grip tighten on the armrest. In her earpiece, a producer frantically urged her to fill the time, but the moment was simply too loaded. Any attempt at casual chatter would have rung hollow. The quick fade to commercials was not just a technical choice but a strategic one, giving the crew precious seconds to decide how to salvage the rest of the show, without addressing the elephant in the room too directly. By the time the cameras returned, Kelly's smile was back in place, but there was no mistaking the flicker of residual tension in her eyes. Asterisk in the minutes that followed backstage, the atmosphere was a swirl of hurried whispers, darting glances, and muffled phone calls as producers scrambled to assess the fallout from Justin's abrupt departure. Assistants rushed to the green room, where he had retreated, finding him pacing slowly with his hands tucked into his jacket pockets, expression unreadable. Security, unsure of whether to intervene or give him space, stood by the door exchanging uncertain looks. Inside the control room, senior producers were already debating damage control. Should they edit the segment to minimize the visible conflict, or lean into the drama for ratings? Meanwhile, Kelly remained seated on stage, the audience still buzzing with speculation, some pulling out their phones to text friends or check social media for any hints about what had just unfolded. One bold crew member approached her quietly, placing a hand on the back of her chair, offering her a moment to step away, but she shook her head, signaling she'd finish the show. Even as makeup artists subtly touched up her look during the next break, her mind was clearly elsewhere. In Justin's green room, a tense conversation was unfolding between him and a show producer who was attempting to coax him into returning for a brief, pre-recorded wrap-up to avoid a complete on-air void. Their exchange, though quieter than the blow-up that had occurred moments earlier, was laced with curt, clipped sentences and carefully measured pauses. By the time a final decision was reached, one that would leave viewers speculating for days, the emotional temperature of the entire studio had shifted from celebratory to cautious, as if everyone sensed they had just been part of a moment that would ripple far beyond that day's broadcast. Asterisk. As the news of Justin Timberlake's mid-show walk-off began to seep out beyond the studio walls, the reaction was almost instantaneous, with social media lighting up in real time as audience members posted vague, tantalizing accounts of tension you could cut with a knife. Hashtags began to trend within minutes, some fans taking Justin's side and defending his right to stand his ground, others rallying around Kelly for handling the live situation with composure. Clips from the episode, hastily captured on phones by people in the audience, began circulating online. Each replay dissected frame by frame as amateur body language analysts weighed in on every smirk, eyebrow raise, and pause in speech. Outside the studio, a cluster of paparazzi and entertainment reporters had gathered, hoping to catch either star as they left, their cameras already set to burst mode. Inside, Justin's team was in damage control mode, huddled together in a corner of the hallway, drafting a brief, non-committal statement while advising him to avoid any impromptu remarks. Kelly, meanwhile, was shepherded into her private dressing room during a break, where close friends and show staff checked on her, offering words of encouragement while gently steering the conversation away from the incident. A publicist popped in with her own update. Media outlets were already calling for official comments, and the network executives wanted to approve any response before it went out. Though the show eventually returned to air with a different segment, the abrupt tonal shift was obvious to anyone watching. What had been promoted as a lighthearted celebrity chat had morphed, in a matter of moments, into a media storm that neither Kelly nor Justin could fully contain, with both of them now at the center of a narrative that was already spiraling bay. In the hours following the broadcast, entertainment news sites erupted with headlines that seemed to grow more dramatic with each refresh, some framing the exchange as a minor disagreement blown out of proportion, others painting it as a deep, personal rift between Justin Timberlake and Kelly Clarkson. TMZ ran a looping clip of the precise moment Justin stood up, adjusted his jacket, and walked off stage, while gossip blogs speculated about what had been said during the commercial break that the cameras didn't catch. Fans dissected the incident. From every angle, one particularly viral thread claimed to have spotted Kelly's expression shifting from amused to visibly irritated in a matter of seconds, while another insisted Justin had been set up for a gotcha moment. Meanwhile, insiders began to leak their own takes, some defending Kelly's playful interviewing style as part of the show's charm, others hinting that Justin had been feeling tense before even stepping into the studio due to unrelated personal pressures. PR teams on both sides were working overtime, sending carefully worded emails to select journalists, hoping to guide the narrative in a less volatile direction. Late-night talk show monologues quickly picked up on the drama, delivering light jabs that, while humorous, only served to keep the story in the public consciousness. By the end of the day, the clip had been watched millions of times, the incident, spawning memes, fan art, and even parody reenactments. What started as a fleeting moment in a live interview had now solidified into one of the week's most talked about pop culture flashpoints, with everyone from casual viewers to industry insiders weighing in on who was in the right and what it all really meant. Asterisk,